it may be a surprise to many of us here in Congress that traditionally or originally the idea of conservation of natural resources was a Republican idea. It came about in 1910 with Republican President Theodore Roosevelt. And he first had the idea to make conservation of our natural materials a national issue. But somewhere along the way, this kind of got out of the grasp of Republicans' ideas of how to go about politics. And Republicans have kind of been considered not caring about the environment. But I think that Republicans need to take that original conservative idea back, and that will bring in more support from the public in future elections. And right now, global warming really is a major issue. In Texas and Oklahoma, we have seen one of the worst droughts in history last year, even worse than the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl. And according to University of A&M and Agricultural Life in Texas, Texas has lost over $5 billion in crop losses and livestock losses because of the major droughts. And James Hansen, head of NASA's Goddard Institute of Space Studies, says that he attributes these major droughts and climate changes to global warming. So as you can see, global warming really is affecting our economy and our world right now. And that's why I argue that we should support H.R. 2454, the American Clean Energy and Security Act of 2009. We should support this bill for three main reasons. First, global warming really is affecting our economy. Second, H.R. 2454 will help save our economy. And third, United States independent action alone is enough to start reducing the astronomical effects of global warming right now. So as I said, global warming really is affecting the world we live in right now. There has been a 0.13 degrees Celsius rise in temperatures globally since 1950, and those temperatures are only expected to worsen because of the amount of greenhouse gases that we're pumping into the atmosphere. And in 100 years, the global temperatures are expected to be around between 2.4 and 10.5 degrees Fahrenheit higher than they were in 2005. And that is an estimate from the EPA. So as these temperatures are rising, it's having effects on our agriculture, and we can see that through the droughts that Texas is experiencing right now. And those droughts are affecting crops. And it's by Wolfram Scheckel. He's an economist for Columbia University. He says that the global impact of climate change has caused the world to have to spend 5% more on produce. And that equals to about $50 billion more spent a year on food because of climate change alone. And the United States, our major export is food production. It's one of our major exports and a source of income. And the EPA says that 1/8 of our total domestic product comes from food production. 1/6 of our civil labor is employed through food production. And last year alone, we brought in over $100 billion for vegetable exports alone. And so we really cannot afford to let global warming affect our agricultural industry. It'll have detrimental effects on our economy. That's why I argue that we should support H.R. 2454 to help save our economy. H.R. 2454 will put into place statutes that will bring down our total carbon emissions to 17%, and by 2020, and by 2050, it'll bring it down by 83%. It will do that by setting up a cap and trade program, a cap on the total amount of emissions that companies can produce, and that is a capitalist idea where we can buy and sell and trade the excess carbon that companies are producing. And this will also encourage companies to start looking into using more renewable energies. As companies have to spend more on their excess carbon emissions, they'll invest more in renewable energy. And as more renewable energy is used, less carbon and greenhouse gases will be emitted, and that will help save our world from going under global warming effects. And eventually that will help save our agriculture from being lost due to climate change. The last thing I'll be arguing is that the United States independent action alone is enough to offset the detrimental effects of global warming. On this overhead, you can see that the United States per capita produces the most global, or the most amount of CO2 emissions and greenhouse gas emissions in the world per person. The EPA said that the average of global emissions of greenhouse gases is about 30,000 million metric tons per year. And in 2010, the United States produced 7,000 million metric tons. That's about 1/4 of the total emissions globally. That makes U.S. citizens the greatest contributors to global warming. And there is a great fear that if the United States steps up and starts putting money towards reducing our global, our attribution to global warming, that the other countries won't follow, and that will make it so that our efforts are meaningless. And Jay Timmons, CEO and president of the National Association of Manufacturers, he wrote in a letter to Congress on June 25th, 2009, that HR 24 does not promote adequate participation from other countries in the world to stop their contributions to global warming, so that he won't support this bill because he doesn't think that it'll be effective. But if the United States reduces its contributions to global warming, it'll have a major effect on the world just because we produce so much. So in this speech, I argue that we should support HR 2454, the American Clean Energy and Security Act of 2009, for 3 main reasons. First, global warming really is affecting our economy in detrimental ways. Second, HR 2454 will help save our economy. And third, U.S. independent action alone will help offset the major effects of global warming in the world. And to promote a better outlook for Republicans from the public, and to achieve greater support for upcoming elections, and to save our world, and to keep our agricultural industry and our economy going, would you join me in passing HR 2454?